It's the 2022 annual Kansas African American Museum Tribute to Trailblazers Showcase, a celebration honoring Kansans who demonstrate, innovate, and persist to pioneer. This evening's showcase celebrates the richness of the African American experience and its indelible influence on American culture, tradition, and language that continue to define our country today. This year we honor Roy Moy III, a Grammy-nominated musician and aerospace engineer, Reverend Dr. Kevis J. Harding of Delrose United Methodist Church and Hope Community Development Corporation, June Bacon Bursey of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and Delano Lewis, retired attorney and former U.S. Ambassador to South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, your MC for tonight's showcase, the incomparable Felicia Rolfe.
Greetings everyone, and welcome to the 22nd Annual Trailblazers Hall of Fame. I'm Felicia Rolfe, your host for this year's exciting celebration. We have an impressive selection of inductees this year, and we celebrate their many accomplishments locally, nationally, and globally. For more than 2 decades, the Kansas African American Museum has honored pioneers who helped shape the American experience. This year's theme, compassion, commitment, courage, and continuing the legacy, speaks to the determination and dedication needed to excel at every opportunity. So let's get started with a song that will get us moving in the right direction. Kemet Coleman from Kansas City presents Get Out, the KC Streetcar Song.
Everything gonna be alright. Got my bus pass, finna ride first class streetcar downtown with the fine ladies and the peeps are. OG said, don't hurt nobody. Looking this damn clean, got my fit on gleam, oh yeah. Don't hurt nobody. And I'm with my team, all the sisters be like, boy, go ahead. Don't hurt nobody. Getting hot in here, wipe the sweat off of my forehead. Don't hurt them now. Let me show you what I'm about to do, cause I'm about to get out. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Get out. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. How we gon' get around when we get on down? Man, I gotta make a move, time to get downtown. Hit the streetcar, then I'ma hit uptown. Cause I gotta get this money, then I sit on down. Cause tonight I'm finna have me a good old time. Spend a couple dollars on this good old time. Hit my mama crib for some good old food. Then I hit the barbershop for the ghetto news. I'm so tired of the blues. Don't hurt nobody. Cooped up in the house, been trying to show off these new shoes. Don't hurt nobody. My boss trying to catch a case, trying to tell me what to do. Don't hurt nobody. But I got kids to feed, I got a second I can lose. Don't hurt them now. Man, I gotta get my mind off this. Let me tell you what a OG said. Don't hurt nobody. Looking this damn clean, got my fit on gleam, oh yeah. Don't hurt nobody. And I'm with my team, all the sisters be like, boy, go ahead. Don't hurt nobody. Getting hot in here, wipe the sweat off of my forehead. Don't hurt them now. Let me show you what I'm about to do, cause I'm about to get out. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Get out. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Let me tell you a little something. Go get on that. Got me on over. Yeah, I was stressing over nothing. Go get on that. Had a chip on my shoulder. Go get on that. Then I had to make a move. Go get on that. Knew what I had to do. Go get on that. Had to see a new view. Go get on that. That I wasn't used to. Go get on that. Can me take it on back down? Oh my goodness, who that shorty in the background? No assistant coach, but I gotta act wow. Celebrating cause it's water, sit you back down. Chicken late and shake it like a jello pack now. Chicken late and take it through a couple racks out. Innovating since they Looking this damn clean, got my fit on gleam, oh yeah.
Don't hurt nobody.
And I'm with my team, all the sisters be like, boy, go ahead.
Don't hurt nobody.
Getting hot in here, wipe the sweat off of my forehead.
Don't hurt 'em now.
Let me show you what I'm about to do, cause I'm about to get out. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Get out. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Hit the town tonight. Oh, we're about to get down tonight. Get out.
We would like to thank Robert Brogdon Automotive as our Hall of Fame sponsor for the evening.
Greetings, I'm Denise Sherman, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Kansas African American Museum. The Kansas African American Museum is a leader in providing unique and immersive cultural experiences. This past year alone has been filled with innovative, groundbreaking, and thought-provoking experiences that have engaged communities across the state of Kansas. This labor of love is supported through the collaboration of storytellers, educators, artists, and keepers of the culture. Thank you to our expanded community for supporting a museum that honors and celebrates African Americans who have blazed trails and contributed mightily to our society. It is with compassion, commitment, and courage that our legacy continues. It is with great pride that we honor our 2022 inductees to the Trailblazers Hall of Fame. Compassion. Kansas and neighboring states known as the Great Plains and included Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico fled unforgiving practices of the South. A well-known prairie settlement called Nicodemus, located in Graham County, Kansas, was led by the recruitment efforts of Benjamin Pap Singleton. Other settlements were Shawnee, Atchison, Douglas, and Leavenworth counties. Freedmen, also referred to as exodusters and homesteaders, established black colonies across the state from the eastern border of Kansas-Missouri state lines to the Kansas-Colorado border. Other areas included the Flint Hills region, the southeastern tri-state area, and independent settlers who homesteaded throughout the state of Kansas, thus allowing courageous exodusters to pioneer a new life of a determined and dedicated homesteader.
Thank you, Denise, for sharing our early history and early beginnings of African Americans here in Kansas. We now invite board member Shayla Cotman to introduce this year's Doris Kerr Larkins Rising Star Award.
Hello, I'm Shayla Cotman, Treasury Cash Manager with the City of Wichita, and I am proud to serve on the board of the Kansas African American Museum. I am happy to present the Doris Kerr Larkins Rising Star Award to a young man who has elevated education and engagement with youth through STEM music. Congratulations to Roy Moy III for creativity and making learning fun.
Watching him as a baby, he could entertain himself. Like I could see him with the blocks and the Legos. And I could see his focus and determination, like I'm going to make this structure and it's going to go the way I want it. So he was already fascinated with creating. I could see his creative mind then. And he always talked about airplanes, and like we would go to pick up like my mother from the airport or a relative, and he was always fascinated with the structure of airplanes.
Roy was an exciting child. And the thing that makes him really different is he was born in Germany. I'm still in the military at this time, but while in the military, we were stationed over in Germany, and she got pregnant. And so he was a pretty easy child, even growing up. I remember we bought him I guess, Christmas present. And you know those Fisher-Price airplanes? And I remember with that airplane, he just, was so enamored. And it seemed like that was the spark that got him going.
I have a fascination and love of airplanes, and I believe it started at that young, tender age of 3 weeks old because I was on a plane. That was one of the first things I did in my life coming back over to the States, and did most of my growing up in Raytown, Missouri, suburb of Kansas City, Missouri, and then came to Wichita to attend Wichita State University. Like I said, fascinated with airplanes, had a love for airplanes. Not necessarily a huge love of math. I was interested and intrigued by science, but the love of airplanes is what drew me to the aerospace engineering major. I used to ask my parents, how can I design planes for a living? That's what I want to do. So they were the ones that were able to come up with the term aeronautical or aerospace engineering, which then I latched onto and said, I got to go do this, and came to Wichita State University. Once I got to Wichita State, I just realized the community was, one, really warm to embrace me, but then also just seeing different mentors, peers who were involved in the community. And, I've had some amazing mentors in my life who are still in my life right now. And I just realized the power of that. And that really launched me into wanting to start an organization.
I'm thinking back to a time when Roy and I met for lunch, and he wanted to talk about the avenues that he wanted to explore as a career and just the rest of his life. And he wondered if he could do all the things at the same time. Was it a either or proposition? Or could it possibly be a yes and? And I knew in that moment that, well, number one, I'm dealing with Roy Moy, so anything's possible. But I also knew in that moment that that wasn't the time to say, Roy, you have to be realistic about things. Go be an engineer. That wasn't going to fly with him, and he wasn't going to listen to that anyway. The reality of things is having the passion for something, such as Roy's passion for music, especially coupled with his innate talent and gifts, well, you have to pursue that. It brings you joy. It's going to be the energy that allows you to do a whole bunch of other things that maybe are less important but necessary. So I encouraged him to do both.
At first, it was just him trying to pursue music just on his own, like regular music. But then he told me about this idea of putting STEM and music together. And so he told me about it, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. But then I feel like he put it on the back burner for a little bit. And then finally he got the courage to actually go through with it, and then wrote the first song, which was we call it STEM Music. I've seen him from the beginning with how much he loves music and how he stayed committed since I met him. All the way through now, he's still always pursuing music, even with a full-time job, and he's still out there committing himself to STEM music and new projects, new songs, music videos. Like, he puts in the work.
Here we go. STEM music, it's a movement. STEM music, oh, let's do it. Everywhere we go, we call it STEM music. People gotta know, we call it STEM music. We gon' make it flow, call it STEM music. We call it STEM music, we call it STEM music. There's so many things to discover today. Science is gonna lead the way. Here we'll review what we've never known before. Like maybe a brand new element or a species that we haven't met. Exploration at its finest, yeah, that's for sure. With science we'll try it. With science we'll find it. With science we'll journey past the stars and more. With no hesitation, with safety and preparation, we can use science to see what's in store. We need a little more science. Clap it up. Gotta have a science. I see you. Needs our science.
what resonates with me is that here is this young man that's of Puerto Rican, Mexican, and African American descent. And here he is, an aerospace engineer and a Grammy-nominated artist and a business owner of STEM music, business founder. And when I think about that, and that's what I think about the young students. We went to Maine to see his show, and I would look in the audience and see how many students of our cultures are in this audience. And I think to myself, I hope that one of these young children get touched in their heart to see someone like them on this stage.
He has lived a life at a very young age that he is, where he can help others see a reality that he's experienced. Not everybody's necessarily going to be able to do all things, but he can certainly provide sage advice through experience on, well, what can you reasonably accomplish without having to sacrifice? How can you prioritize? How can you parlay? Just how can you live your dream while also reckoning with the realities of life? And I think one of the ways that Roy sees that can be done is through the benefit that comes from a knowledge and deep understanding of science, technology, engineering, and math. I mean, so much future involved with that. And in industries that only stand to benefit from the participation of unrepresented or underrepresented groups.
First of all, just being honored by the Kansas African American Museum is a true special honor for me. To be selected as someone being honored this year is, wow, it's pretty amazing. It's humbling. And then thinking about Doris, I think, man, somebody who had the commitment and dedication to say, hey, I gotta save this building. I know what it means. I'm sure there was a lot of faith that went into that, a lot of prayers that went into that. And so I think I do resonate with her story. I'm thankful once again for the work that she did because, I stand on the shoulders of people like Doris. And so I think for me, it's a great reminder that, our community is extremely important. The health of this city of Wichita, of our state, of our nation, of the world. I mean, really, when you break it down, is based on communities. A lot of times you're just following this trail. So you don't have to do anything crazy. You just go on this trail. And so I feel like I get to do that because of people like Doris. So I'm extremely grateful for her legacy and happy to continue to try to build onto that with the work that I'm doing here in the city of Wichita. Thank you to the Kansas African American Museum for this incredible Rising Star Award. I'm so honored and humbled and just grateful for the support of the Kansas African American Museum. They've been a true part of my journey here in Wichita, Kansas. I also want to thank my parents, my siblings, and my entire extended family for all the support. I want to give a special shout out to God for just continuing to give me all the energy and the grace that I need to continue to do this work that I'm so passionate about. And I want to do a special shout out to Wichita State University and Spirit Aerosystems, who have been integral in my career and my journey and been so supportive of not only the engineering side of things, but also my singing endeavors. So truly grateful to be receiving this award, and I can't wait to continue to do the work that I'm so passionate about in this community with Wichita, with the state of Kansas, with the country, and with the world. Thank you so much.
We would like to thank Spirit Aerosystems as our Doris Kerr Larkin's Rising Star sponsor for the evening.
Greetings, I'm Denise Sherman, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Kansas African American Museum. The Kansas African American Museum is a leader in providing unique and immersive cultural experiences. This past year alone has been filled with innovative, groundbreaking, and thought-provoking experiences that have engaged communities across the state of Kansas. This labor of love is supported through the collaboration of storytellers, educators, artists, and keepers of the culture. Thank you to our expanded community for supporting a museum that honors and celebrates African Americans who have blazed trails and contributed mightily to our society. It is with compassion, commitment, and courage that our legacy continues. It is with great pride that we honor our 2022 inductees to the Trailblazers Hall of Fame.
Greetings. I am Ebony Clemens Ajibalade, President-elect for the Board of Directors of the Kansas African American Museum. I would like to extend a special thank you to our Cowrie Shell Leadership Society donors. Contributions made by this group of donors help support the museum's annual operations. We thank you for your ongoing support and your generosity. To become a member of this illustrious group of supporters, please visit our website to learn more.
We would like to thank Evergy, our honorary sponsor for the evening.
Commitment. Commitment became the foundation of the establishment of communities that linked groups or colonies and independent African American homesteaders. These communities were important and allowed those who migrated to Kansas an opportunity to reestablish a connection that was left behind in their former lives. This development of Black society resulted in the organization of churches, schools, and social events. Like other groups who established communities across the country, these connections reinforced the importance of family, preserved customs, cultural practices, and traditions, provided a village of supporters, and the establishment of land ownership to support agriculture and farming efforts. While early conditions were not always favorable, the relationship, reliance on others, and commitment to succeed in this new land helped the community press onward and shape a new future in Kansas.
Congratulations, Roy Moore III, for illustrating the importance of STEM through music. Our first Trailblazer honoree has positively engaged the community through his entrepreneurial efforts, advocacy, and spiritual leadership. Our community influencer, Dr. Kevis J. Harding, looks for opportunities to better the lives of others. Let's learn more.
When the Fair Housing Act of 1968 was signed into law, it prohibited home sale discrimination based on race. This was a huge step forward for Black Americans and other minorities. But at this point in history, minority groups regularly faced clear, outright discrimination regarding the selling of, the rental of, and the financing of housing. And this law was working to level the housing market for all people. But while the law passed, Black homeownership rates remained the lowest of all racial groups in the country. Per the U.S. Census Bureau, the rate of African American home ownership was at 44.1% at the close of 2020, while the rate of white home ownership was at 74.5%. That is a 30.4% gap. And the more concerning part about this is the gap is widening. But all is not lost because we have hope. Hope Community Development Corporation is built on a foundation of servant leadership and action. And action is what we love.
I'm Brandon Johnson. I serve on the Wichita City Council representing District 1. Redlining, my definition is government-sanctioned discrimination through home loans, opportunity, and keeping poor people and people of color together intentionally for reasons that are not good. Historically, when you look at redlining, Wichita was the third most redlined city in the country. Every redlined area is still poor or highly gentrified. That's what we see right now. It's important for us to do all that we can to uplift those areas. That means pouring into those areas. That means investment. That means providing opportunity. I think Dr. Harding is being obedient to the vision God has for him, whether it's housing or food or bringing in large corporations. When you see people like Dr. Harding investing their time and energy in trying to build new, then you see more opportunity come into the area, and that's the really good thing about what he's doing. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next house of many. And I told him it's time to get those hands dirty. I plan to be on a lot of ribbon cuttings before I get out of office.
My official name is Reverend Dr. Kevin J. Harding. I'm originally born and raised in Wichita, Kansas, but my goal was to be an FBI agent. Because I always had a heart for service. And I thought policing would help me be that servant as I wanted to track my way up to be an FBI agent.
Kevis has been really active in the community. He's a very compassionate person, especially when it comes to his church. I mean, even from the pulpit, he preaches education, he preaches knowledge, and he preaches everyone, just being involved in the community and just his love of community and wanting everyone to know as much as they can.
As I tell people, I went from the pews to the choir stand as a choir member, from the choir stand to the pulpit as a preacher. And then in that whole process, I was actually evolving into ministry, the ministry of being the actual hands and feet of Christ. That not only do you preach it, but how do you now show it in your community? And this is why I have a passion for hope in our community, to tear down these red lines. The word hope is how we derive the whole, our nonprofit name of Hope Community Development Corporation. When we build strong families and children and communities, we build strong neighborhoods. And one of the things that I saw in our community that with our nonprofit was the lack of a grocery store.
There's over 44 square miles of food desert. A lot of the big stores have pulled out. We don't have a lot of local entrepreneurs that have stores, and filling in that food desert is a big deal. So again, that's where we need the intentional investment and effort to help solve some of these problems.
I call Walmart from January to June, every Monday morning, saying the property's still for sale. It was exciting to cut that ribbon and that store to be the #1 regional seller in the community. I was elated.
He has compassion for hurting people, for poverty, for people that are down and don't think that they can be lifted up. He has compassion for all people, and his commitment goes above and beyond. Once he gets involved in he's committed. On the police department, he was part of the first group of community policing. They were out helping people in the neighborhood. See, community policing wasn't just about little things. They were actually painting elderly's houses, cleaning up the yards. I mean, they used to do everything. There are a couple members that come here right now and they say, he stopped me from doing bad things out there in the streets. He helped me because he brought me job applications. I see Hope CDC being a very awesome nonprofit for him. I think this is one of his most productive things for him to do. And he's so excited. I have to calm him down sometime.
He's an advocate for the community. He reaches out and makes sure that our members are aware of what's going on when it comes to voting. He tells them from the pulpit, make sure that your vote counts, make sure you get out there and vote. And so he's really involved in that way as well. First and foremost, he really is a teacher. I mean, because he's been a teacher in the past with USD 259. He's been a mentor. He's been a youth pastor. Of course, he's been a father. I am extremely proud and just excited for him because he's never really been honored like this. And so to me, I feel like it's his time. And so for him to be honored by TCAM Trailblazers, to me is such an honor, for him.
Part of the trailblazer in me is the old statement, if you see a hurt, you heal it. That's my desire. Every time I wake up, how do I make that difference? Let someone know you're not that. You're God's child. And how do we be those hands and feet for that person? That's my energy. To be honored as a trailblazer with the Kansas African American Museum, TCAM, for one, it's truly an honor. It's a joy because I'm, exciting because I don't do what I do to get this. Yeah, this is an honor and a privilege, and I'm grateful for it. Hopefully, if I said anything, it encouraged somebody else to step out and be a trailblazer.
To present the 2022 Trailblazers Award is Fabrice Matan.
Hello, my name is Fabrice Matan, owner of Simplify My Numbers and a proud member of the Board of Directors for the Kansas African American Museum. As a fellow entrepreneur, it is my honor to present the 2022 Trailblazers Hall of Fame to Dr. Kevis J. Harding, who has been innovative and instrumental in providing services and access to opportunity for the betterment of the community.
I want to thank the Kansas African American Museum, particularly the executive director, for all the work and the late nights they've put in for this great event and all that they're doing in the life of our community. I want to thank my home church, Delrose United Methodist Church. I want to thank you personally for just allowing me to be your pastor for the last 24 plus years. Delrose, you've helped me be a better leader in our community. Give me permission to be the entrepreneur that goes beyond the four walls of the church, to be the hands and feet of Christ. And so I thank you for that. I thank my family, my children, my grandchildren, but most of all, I thank my beautiful wife, Takeda Harding, who is my rib, my support. She's my all in all. We've been married 28 years, August 27th. So again, happy anniversary, and I got a surprise for you for your 30th. That's all you need to know.
We would like to thank Fidelity Bank as one of our heritage sponsors for the evening.
Good evening. I am Ted Ayers, immediate past president of the Board of Directors and chair of the Development Committee. Thank you for joining us for our 2022 Trailblazers program. The Kansas African American Museum has served our members, our city, and our state for the past 25 years. Those years have been marked with innumerable successes, significant moments, and ongoing contributions to African American history and culture. Those 25 years have been accomplished in our current home, the iconic Calvary Baptist Church, and this building has served us well. However, the time has come for us to invest in a new home for the future and well-being of the museum. We are excited and pleased to share that we have raised $3 million towards our $6 million goal. We are so grateful for all those who have supported our capital campaign, and we look forward to the accomplishment of our goal. Please join us in supporting the future of the Kansas African American Museum by learning more about our capital campaign and our future.
We would like to thank Meritrust Credit Union as one of our heritage sponsors for the evening.
Courage describes the faith, fortitude, and tenacity of free African Americans who've made Kansas and nearby states in the Great Plains their home. Known as the Exodusters, a mass migration of African Americans from Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, and other locations in the South began in 1879 after the end of the American Civil War, and immediately following the Reconstruction era of 1865 to 1877. By 1880, Benjamin Pap Singleton, a former slave from Tennessee, led as many as 40,000 African Americans to migrate to Kansas, though some found the conditions harsh, undesirable, and too risky to stay. The Homestead Act, the 1866 Civil Rights legislation, and the 14th Amendment supported the establishment of black communities or colonies throughout the state of Kansas, with an estimated 734 African American independent homestead claimants representing over 120,000 acres of land.
Thank you, Fabrice. Well, our next trailblazer, June Bacon Bursey, was a barrier-breaking meteorologist who paved the way for women and minorities to enter into a male-dominated field. Let's learn more about her story.
Especially in the time that June was on broadcast TV, there were not many African Americans, period. And not only being an African American, a female being successful in this field in broadcast meteorology. Back then, it was mostly white males who was presenting the weather to the general public.
Back in the days, there was kind of a pretty face on the television, and from again what I read about her, that was not something that she was interested in, and being just that she had the education to back it up, which is truly a pioneering effort.
It's just a week before spring hits by the calendar, but Old Man Winter is reluctant to leave.
The community of Wichita, Kansas is key for my mom because as a girl in grade school, very interested in science and a voracious reader. But she had supportive teachers along the way. And that armed with that community support, the family support, that armed her with the confidence to walk into UCLA to the advisor and listen to what the advisor had to say and know that she was good enough to pursue both thermodynamics and a 4-year degree in meteorology, which ultimately is what she did.
June has played a tremendous role in making sure that African Americans understand that this is a field that they can get into. Back in 1978, she wrote a government paper, on the statistics of African Americans entering the field of meteorology. She was studying that in 1978. And not only was she studying it, she was making advancements of letting African Americans who were interested in math and science know that the meteorology field was a field that they can get into.
She was the first African American woman to receive a degree in meteorology and the only one in the 1950s to do so. And then if you look at it and you contrast it to today, 60% of college students are female, and 60% of those who earn degrees in the biological or biomedical sciences are female.
I didn't want to because at that time female weathercasters were doing weather in a way that they would grab the public's attention by playing ukuleles and doing all little silly and absurd things. So I didn't want to do it.
I mean, you think back to the 1950s and even just the presence of women on television and in different roles wasn't what it is today, but at that time she provided a voice for those in her community, an educated individual. She went from being told to be a last-minute replacement for the meteorologist because she was a scientific reporter at the time, and then filled in just because they needed a meteorologist, and then 2 years later became a chief meteorologist at a television station, which is truly remarkable in that short a period of time, especially if you think about even now, someone's not able to do that, but it shows passion, the commitment, the drive, and the vigor that she had.
June understood that weather impacts everyone, especially underserved and minority communities. And she, again, utilized her funds to help educate minority and underserved communities about weather. When you want to talk about commitment, her commitment was strong to the field. From a broadcast element of the field all the way to the operational side of the field and working for the NOAA and the National Weather Service. She was committed to this field, and she was committed to helping others get into this field.
Miss June Bacon Bursey, meteorologist from the National Weather Service in New York, is the only woman and the only black person to receive the American Meteorological Seal of Approval.
When you look at what June has done, her legacy continues. This year alone, the American Meteorological Society is naming the Broadcast Meteorologist of the Year award right after June Baker Bursey. So her legacy still continues.
It's not just about personal achievements, but it's about what you can do to help those who will come behind you.
When my mom launched the scholarship, the second, she noticed there were no people of color the first year that applied for the scholarship. So she wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for people of color to be exposed to STEM, because there were a dearth of candidates. They couldn't apply for the scholarship because they didn't have the education background. She researched HSBUs, historically black universities, And Jackson State University at the time did not have a lab, which is one of the requirements for meteorology. So my mom, at the second year of the scholarship, she funded the meteorology lab. My mom's legacy is very much being lived today. The Weather Channel had a chance to go to Jackson State University after her death, and it was gratifying to hear the students speak about my mom. It's gratifying for me because their answer was, "We are your legacy."
As our younger meteorologists still learn about her and what she did, her legacy lives on, and lives on through people like myself who continue to give back and tell the story of June Bacon Bursey. Tell how she was one of the persons who helped pioneer the program at Jackson State University. And so our HBCUs are continuing to have an impact as best as they can to educate students about meteorology and about this field. But there's still a lot of work. Again, we're still very underrepresented.
She often ended her speeches when speaking to women or communities of color, that if you have a passion for science, technology, engineering, or math, pursue it relentlessly.
She had the courage and the commitment to pursue a degree and a career path during the time that she did. She had the commitment to further the education of others and those around her by building the resources and support systems for them. She had the compassion to do that as well and to further educate those young students and others. And she continued to educate into her 80s. So all of those things to me just show how she represents each one of those categories and not just one specifically.
To present the 2022 Trailblazers Award is Dr. Holly Putnam Jackson.
Hello, I'm Dr. Holly Putnam Jackson, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Derby Schools. I am honored to present the 2022 Trailblazer Award to a distinguished, determined, and dynamic woman who pioneered her way through the field of oceanic and atmospheric sciences as the first African American woman meteorologist. Congratulations to June Bacon Bursey for fearlessly pursuing a career path where the sky has no limit.
I'm Dale St. Clair, June Bacon Bursey's daughter. When I learned my mother was being awarded the Trailblazers Award, chills ran through my spine and I continue to smile. My mother often said there is no greater honor than being recognized by your community. The Kansas African American Museum and all involved in proposing and awarding my mother this distinguished award. Thank you very much.
We would like to thank Capital Federal Bank, our print sponsor for the evening.
Greetings, I'm Denise Sherman, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Kansas African American Museum. The Kansas African American Museum is a leader in providing unique and immersive cultural experiences. This past year alone has been filled with innovative, groundbreaking, and thought-provoking experiences that have engaged communities across the state of Kansas. This labor of love is supported through the collaboration of storytellers, educators, artists, and keepers of the culture. Thank you to our expanded community for supporting a museum that honors and celebrates African Americans who have blazed trails and contributed mightily to our society. It is with compassion, commitment, and courage that our legacy continues. It is with great pride that we honor our 2022 inductees to the Trailblazers Hall of Fame.
Greetings. I am Ebony Clemens Ajibalade, President-elect for the Board of Directors of the Kansas African American Museum. I would like to extend a special thank you to our Cowrie-Shell Leadership Society donors. Contributions made by this group of donors help support the museum's annual operations. We thank you for your ongoing support and your generosity. To become a member of this illustrious group of supporters, please visit our website to learn more.
We would like to thank RSM Marketing as our marketing and media sponsor for the evening.
continuing the legacy. Today, descendants of the freedmen, exodusters, and homesteaders continue to discover, explore, and celebrate their heritage through family reunions and homecoming events, as well as exhibitions, educational programs, research projects, genealogy, and acknowledgement of the original communities and cemeteries through the Register of Historic Places and other preservation opportunities. By sharing our stories of the past and understanding our collective history, we can continue our journey with compassion, commitment, and courage, and continue the legacy for the future.
Now let's hear about our next amazing Trailblazer honoree, Delano Lewis, whose hometown is Arkansas City, Kansas. Throughout his illustrious career, he's been a motivator within his community, pushing individuals to make courageous advancements for their personal and professional betterment.
So I met Delano when I was still an undergrad, and I was at the University of Kansas. I was in a conference that had occurred, and they had brought Delano to the University of Kansas. Afterwards, I had the opportunity to go to lunch with him. And so my big brothers of the fraternity told me to literally be seen and not heard. And so I'm sitting there while, they're having these fancy conversations with Delano, and I'm on the side of Delano just stirring my coffee. And with every twist of this spoon, I'm hitting the side of that cup. And he turned to me and he says, "Tell me your name, young man." Now I'm scared, because I was supposed to be quiet and not, not be heard. And he says, "Let me show you how to stir your coffee so that nobody knows you're stirring it." That was the first encounter with Ambassador Delano Lewis that ultimately gave me an impression that he cares even when you don't speak.
I'm Kathleen Sebelius. I have served as governor of Kansas. When I met him, I was, as I say, my first college job, and he was an engaged, informed, interested citizen taking on a project that really didn't have a lot of glamour, and there was no great headline to this project, but he did everything from helping us get postage stamps to donating some money to figuring out some enterprises in DC who might be willing to hire people as they came out of prison. So he was a roll up your sleeves, let's get to work, this is an important project kind of guy.
So I think he's one that is always lives a life of servitude, always want to better the community. And he is one that attains goals simply because of his commitment, his drive to, and not only just for his improvement of himself, but also improvement of others around him.
I am Delano Lewis, and I'm retired, living in Las Cruces, New Mexico. My life has always been one of relationships and experiences, and when doors open, I encourage people to be ready for when that door opens. When I had that offer to go overseas to work with the Peace Corps, I wasn't sure. That was not within my comfort zone. I wanted to stay in the world of law and maybe work in civil rights. But I did move outside my comfort zone. And with my wife and 3 small boys at that time, and we had a 4th son born in Uganda, I got experience of the world. And not only did I learn how to manage, but I learned how to live and learn in another part of the world. We left DC in 1998 when I left National Public Radio and came to live in Las Cruces, New Mexico full-time. And during that short time of retirement, I received a call from Vice President Al Gore, who said he was calling on behalf of President Clinton to offer me the nomination to be the next United States Ambassador to the Republic of South Africa. I was completely overwhelmed when I got that call. I did not know I was being considered. I turned to my wife and said, "I'm being asked to be nominated to U.S. Ambassador to South Africa." She shook her head. I went back to the phone and said, "I accept, Mr. Vice President." He said, "Congratulations, you're here from State Department."
So being an ambassador is all about showing up, right? It's about advocating for someone else. And Ambassador Lewis does that in every aspect of his life. And here's the part that really makes me proud to know him and to continue to learn from him is because he shows up for every person that he's connected with. The fact that you have someone who was the president of multiple companies, NPR, the telephone company, and then goes on to be the ambassador to South Africa, and he's from good old Wyandotte County, Kansas, and still has the ability to pick up the phone and say hello to little old you. That is being an ambassador. That is being someone who cares about people. And that is what makes Ambassador Lewis who he is. And that's why he continues to make history, because he continues to show up.
I've watched him in all kinds of situations, lifting people up, not just his own children, but looking out at the community at large, making sure that people understood that there were opportunities broader than their own community and that their own state and service and opportunity was really available to everybody. So I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
In all the things that you can see of him, in every stage, he's always been committed to bettering someone else's life other than himself. But of all of that right there, it takes courage to go out and do things that are different. When he was with the Chesapeake and Potomac Bell, and then NPR, and other things. And now, even in his latter years of his life, he's committed to higher education in New Mexico. So it's commitment and courage to take those challenges and new adventures throughout his whole life. He can be a mentor, or he is a mentor for others. Let's talk about people of color. There are some that will not see individuals in a certain stature or position and what have you. And if young kids, young people of color can see someone of a Delano Lewis, that's a message that he achieved it, I can too. I know it's possible.
When I was deciding to run for district attorney here in Wyandotte County, it was a huge decision for me. I have 4 children, I'm married, my wife is an attorney, she's in private practice with me. It's a huge decision, and I called Delano, and he says to me, "One, have you prayed about it?" I said, "Yes, I prayed about it." He said, "Have you talked to your wife about it?" I said, "Yes, I talked to my wife about it." He says, "Do you think you can do it?" And I paused. And he started talking. He said, "In order for you to win, you have to have the courage to stand up for the fight. But to stand up for the fight, you have to be willing to trailblaze for those who are coming behind you." The end of that story is I became the first African-American elected district attorney in the state of Kansas because I took his advice and I found the courage to stand up and defeat whatever odds that were in front of me to begin to blaze something for those that are coming. There could only be one first, but for every person that will sit in this seat that looks like me and that's coming behind me, it's because I listened to real trailblazers like Delano, who said focus on courage and focus on those who are coming behind you.
Of all that we talk about Delano and his accolades that he received, I think this is something I think it hits to the heart of who he is. He's a trailblazer. And the things that he has done, coming from Ark City to Kansas City to the world. He's a trailblazer. Many people will follow him. He has set the tone for many to follow. And that's what I think is a trailblazer. And then his tracks, they don't cool off. They're still warm because there are so many people that follow him.
It is with pleasure to introduce Ron Holt to present the 2022 Trailblazers Award to Delano Lewis.
Greetings. I'm Ron Holt, retired Assistant County Manager for Sedgwick County, and I'm delighted to serve as a board member of the Kansas African American Museum. It is my honor to present the 2022 Trailblazer Award to a global civic and business leader who has used his influence to effect change, establish policy for the betterment of society, and positively impact lives here at home and across the world. Congratulations to Delano Lewis, for your devotion to our country and always keeping civic leadership in the forefront.
I want to thank the Kansas African American Museum for this high honor of a Trailblazer Award in law, business, and diplomacy. I have had a tremendous experience that started in Kansas, and I joined Chesapeake and Potomac Telephone Company as a public affairs manager, worked my way up, and stayed there for 21 years. And at the end of that 21 years, I took early retirement as president of DC operations for Bell Atlantic Verizon. So I'm honored to have given some trailblazing opportunities, and I would encourage you to also pursue your dreams, because dreams do come true. Work hard, move outside your comfort zone, take risks, and when that door opens, you'll be able to walk through that door and take advantage of those opportunities. So I want to thank the Kansas African American Museum for this high honor, and I also want to thank my family, my spouse of 62 years, my immediate family, and my extended family. I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you very much for this high honor.
This hour has been inspirational and uplifting. To recognize the richness of the African American experience and the indelible influence of the 2022 Trailblazers through their achievements locally, nationally, and globally. The mission of the Kansas African American Museum endeavors to make the Kansas African American experience resonate with every Kansan, and through technology with all persons. The vision of the Kansas African American Museum is to be the premier place where the communities come to learn about or tell the Kansas African American story. Thank you so much for joining us for the 22nd Trailblazers Award celebration, and we look forward to you joining us again next year.
Thank you for joining us for the 2022 Kansas African American Museum Tribute to Trailblazers Award Showcase. We hope that you join us again next year. Be well.
Wolf threes and sweatpants, Bluetooth headphones and jet lag. No telebook, 6-hour wait. Cali rates for the Uber, not agreeing with the bank. Pulled up sweating and disoriented. Y'all still wanna explore? Hit museums to kill time. I'm ready for mealtime and Wi-Fi. Clock say not time. Guess we gotta roll. No signal in the joint. Guess I gotta scroll. Shorty wanna make nice. Guess I gotta fold. Thighs out, sitting low, trying not to snore. Taking pictures of the fancy store. Shit I can't afford. Moving forward. It was all cool in the first half. Then we ended up in the spot when we're close confined to one wall at a time. I'm reminded of why I want all this to stop.
Hollywood, LA. Shouldn't have me feeling this kind of way. Why did I let you take up all my days? Should've left my baggage back on that plane.
Dipped out with no warning. No good night and no good morning. Almost booked a Motel 6 cause it's Airbnb feeling and yet attention is thick. We young, dumb, and broke with dumb, dumber, and hoe. My head's about to explode. Can't sing the song, so I'm humming the notes. Wi-Fi on the fritz, so I'm thumbing the quotes. Layla,